Alrighty, welcome to Indie Comic Stream number 17 here at Comics and Variety. I am your host, Doc Hogg, along with my co-host, our boy Great Lott.
First time caller, long time listener.
We should play some of those sometime on the show. Those were always fun. Yeah, I didn't know what a can opener was, Mr. Obvious. At any rate, a couple of quick things to a few administrative details to attend to. We will be having one of the Diaz brothers, I believe Philip Diaz, on the show today to talk about their new comic, The Lost Pages. It is already at $12,000. Congratulations to them. As far as I think I got an email from them a few days ago saying it had busted through 10K in 4 days. So really big congratulations to them. And they did Magic Cop as well, which we reviewed a few weeks ago. Kind of had some split opinions on that, but that's all right.
Well, I mean, I said though that I knew it wasn't going to be my cup of whiskey, and it wasn't. But I said this looks better, and it really does. And I'm very happy to see it having a lot of success.
Well, I know you have to leave the show early, so I'll let Philip know that you are doing your best to suck up to him. So, also, we are going to be reviewing William Tyler Davis's Heroes Act and Paul Richey's Soulbound. Just to let you know, my comic book Tilt is still in demand. We have reached our $4,000 stretch goal. And everybody's going to get 2 free pinups, and here they are. They arrived today. I could not believe how quickly they arrived. And yeah, so things are looking good. And with a little bit of, let me show these on the screen real quick. Here we go. I should probably blow up my screen just for a minute. Yes, indeed. The comics arrived last week. I have packaged them all up and signed them. Hello, Paula.
Hey.
And yeah, they'll be ready to go. And I'm going to be packing up, putting them in packaging soon. And I think we will be sending out our first shipment Monday, knock on wood. But things are looking good. And yeah, so.
I got an idea for you, Doc.
Okay.
For like a variant cover for a forthcoming issue of Tilt.
Alrighty.
You should have one with her with Don Quixote tilting at windmills.
That's not particularly bad. I kind of like that. Alrighty. Well, I will have to consider that. Hang on here just a second. And we got a few things to... Hi.
So do you hear my daughter in the background there?
Yes, I do.
She's in the other room.
Sure, she's lovely.
Oh yeah, no, she's a firecracker.
Just like her dad, right?
Oh yeah, sometimes.
Because when I think of firecracker, I think Jeremy Lott. All righty, let's have a little bit of fun here. Alrighty, let me go back to this here, and we will, yeah, and let's have a little bit of fun with this news article. Elmer, Fudd, Yosemite Sam no longer have guns in new Looney Tunes cartoons. 2 popular Looney Tune characters will no longer have the firearms they have carried for decades. Elmer, Fudd, and Yosemite Sam do not carry guns in the new Looney Tunes cartoon series on streaming service HBO Max. Just because the characters are disarmed doesn't mean you won't see the cartoon violence synonymous with the animated franchise. Well, yeah, it kind of does. At least you won't see any gun violence. Says here, there's no word on whether the exclusion of firearms is related to gun violence in the U.S., but I'm willing to bet that's the reason. How about you, Jeremy?
Well, I think we need to come up with a creative name for HBO over this.
Mm-hmm.
So
right.
I've decided to call it HBO Lax.
Lax?
Yeah, LACKS. Yeah.
All right, all right,
Yeah,
all
yeah,
right. I can go for that. I
yeah.
mean, I don't know about you, but I was certainly more violent as a kid when I watched Elmer Fudd and Yosemite Sam, use their guns because
Oh man, I threw down. Like
yeah, I mean, I thought that they were. I mean, the first time I went out, the first time you know that cartoon where Elmer Fudd shoots Daffy Duck and the beak, the bill gets turned around right on top of
yeah.
his head, and I mean, the first
Isn't
time,
there one where his beak, does like several 360s?
yeah. Yeah, because Siths are so much. Yes, absolutely, because Siths are so much less horrific. Yeah, I mean, when I first went out duck hunting, I was stunned that when I fired a duck's head, it really didn't have much of a head left. I just figured the bill would just turn around. I mean, I learned everything that I thought I needed to know about duck hunting from Daffy Duck and Elmer Fudd cartoons. I mean, I had no idea that the duck would actually die.
It's so unrealistic.
I mean, goodness, I mean,
wait, the next thing you're going to be telling me is that when you walk off a cliff, you fall before you start looking down.
You do? Holy crap!
Yeah, it's weird.
And next thing you're going to be telling me there's no education in the third kick of a mule.
Oh man. Yeah.
I mean, is your education in the third kick of a mule?
I'm thinking, I don't know, but by that time, I'm a little too scrambled to know.
Well, at any rate, let me just tell you here how this makes me feel real quick here. This is how it makes me feel.
Dirty Turkish harker back flat and Morton, Philip Bunker Martin, Perkaluma Burton, Durden, Boston, Martin, and Adam. Titty free, fucking ratting, written, hitting, bloats.
That's how this makes me feel. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I agree. My daughter, when she gets mad, sometimes she basically Yosemite Sam swears. So, maybe it's good that, he's not having gun because otherwise she'd be likely to shoot at the ceiling.
All righty, one more, and then we will get to the comics here. Here we go. We'll be back. Italy prison escapees promise to return. 2 inmates who escaped from a prison in Rome last week left guards a courtesy note saying they had business to take care of, but would be back shortly, a newspaper reported Tuesday. The 2 cousins, Davad Zukanovic and Lil Amatovic, broke out of a Rabibia prison overnight on June 2nd by scaling a wall using a water hose left in the courtyard. But before they escaped, they left a note in their cell explaining that they had personal reasons for needing to flee, and that said the Repubblica Daily. They were driven by the need to protect their children from a nasty business they had gotten themselves into, the Daily said, paraphrasing the contents of the letter. The inmates specified that only they could make things right, as their wives were also both in jail. At the end of the assigned note, they promised to return in about 15 days once everything was sorted, the paper said. The men were serving sentences until 2029 for nonviolent crimes, including fraud and receiving stolen goods. So, well, you have your nominees for dumbest criminals, if they do indeed come back. And I'll just say that we here at Indy Comic Stream will keep you updated. We will let you know if these guys developing story. We will actually let you know if these guys decide to come back to prison. I'm betting no. I think they were lying in that note, but that's just me.
Well, the guys that were in prison for fraud would leave a fraudulent note.
I know. What's the world coming to? All righty. Which one would you like to do first? Soulbound or Heroes Act?
Let's do Heroes Act, and I need to declare an interest here. It says William Tyler Davis, and beneath that it says Daniel Cavall. Daniel Cavall has done art on a future comic written by Jeremy Lott.
All righty.
Called Tarot. So this is my boy, Daniel Cavall.
Okay, well, I will declare that I actually like this comic, but not because of any conflict of interest on your part.
Okay.
In fact, I should probably review it alone because you do have a conflict of interest. See you later. Shh. Actually, I really believe this comic sucks. I just didn't want to make Jeremy mad. Okay, we'll bring him back in now. Hey, Jeremy, how you doing? All righty. Okay, actually, no, I did quite like this. This is actually issue 2. This is after well, why don't you, I mean, this is your comic you chose, so why don't you give us the background here?
Yeah, okay. So well, I want to say something about the idea when we do these comics is I like them to be related to each other in some way. So I wait till Doc usually decides what comic he's going to do, and then I try to pair something with that. And we had a hard time this week. But since it was going to be Soulbound 2, I thought we'd do second issues as a theme.
Mm.
And you know how well. So the first issue is usually saleable. You know, people will give it a shot coming out of the gates. But then how do they keep it going? What do they do with the second issue? I thought that was worth exploring. So that's why I picked this. The story here is, you know, a classic trope of, you know, like a meteor crashes into Earth and space gas or whatever. And quite a few people are then mutated as a result. They don't look different. They're given powers, and it's actually quite a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Because of this, you know, like, well, how does the world change? You know, because people have changed. How does the world change? And they passed something in Congress called the Heroes Act. Thus, the title of the book is Heroes Act. But it's also about how it's not just about the legislation; it's about how heroes act. You know. Mm-hmm. So it's a play on words. And so yes, we've had a first issue which we didn't review, and then we come into the second issue. In the first issue, you had a couple of friends who one of them decided to act the hero, and he got the crap kicked out of him. And then we pick up in the second issue. Here we go.
And it seems that somehow that the kid here who thinks or at least thought he didn't have any powers, may actually have the ability to absorb powers from others.
Yes,
okay. All right. So which page you want to go to here? I mean, this is where they're about to visit their friend in the hospital, and they're going back to, he's having a flashback to this guy here who's walking out, had beaten up his friend, and his friend has the ability to move objects. Well, next thing you know, he's reaching for some first aid, and, you know, whoops, how the heck did that happen?
His friend had telekinetic powers, right? And he was up against something like someone who had like minor juggernaut-like powers. So he wasn't able to move him, and he got the crap kicked out of him. The guy took the money and ran, and then, you know, what happened after that when he's laid out on the floor, he's trying to reach for a first aid kit, and it just flies to him, and he realizes that he's absorbed his telekinetic powers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All righty. And then I also have to wonder, well, he's got the telekinetic powers here, and so he basically then beats the crap out of the guy who beat the crap out of his friend. And you do wonder the reason his friend was not able to defend himself against this guy, had his powers already been absorbed by this guy. That's I mean, I don't know. That's my guess, though.
Well, the reason I described them as minor juggernaut-like powers is I think that he was basically once the juggernaut, like once he starts in he's in the X-Men, right? Once he starts running at something, you can't stop him, basically. And I think this guy basically has that same type of power here. But in this case, he's not, set. He's not doing any of that, and so he just ambushes him and kicks the crap out of them.
Okay, that is certainly a viable interpretation, and not one that I can we have any reason to necessarily disagree with it.
And if you scroll back up, it's also we don't get into this comic, but I think it's possible he absorbed his powers right in this scene right here. Yeah.
Okay. And so he's visiting his friend. Some nice banter back and forth here.
Yeah.
And let's see. Now here he is encountering a girl who has some powers to power of invisibility and to be able to move through other objects. And he was actually at a bank that she helped rob. And she was with her brother, who at this point does not yet know that his words actually can control other people just by saying, would you go turn on the lamp? And you will go and turn on the lamp. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, actually, he figures it out and uses it for worse than that. But it's developed, you know, now we've shifted from what are my powers and why don't I have powers to getting into a very serious conflict here. And he finally realizes it when one of his stooges, who screwed up some sort of business transaction, he basically tells him, you should shoot yourself. And he picks up a gun and goes shoots himself. And that's when he realizes that his words have the power of control, not suggestion, actually control. So
so this sets up a much bigger conflict down the road. Yeah,
I work for you now. So yeah, you know, it's pretty good. I don't know, that this is not my I'm not sure what to say about this. I mean, there is certainly, you can do a close-up of a face and a splash page. You know, I'll say this may work for some people, and that clearly the guy looks hypnotized.
He does look hypnotized. I think the eyebrows are just I don't know, those are some formidable eyebrows.
Yeah, I'll say that. I mean, I think a more interesting splash page would have been one of his friends right before he shoots himself, you know, with the gun raised up and something like that. That, I think, and then blam. I think that would have been a more effective splash page. This is okay. But
overall, but I mean, the earlier splash page is definitely better than this splash page.
Yeah, I agree. So, okay. No, this was overall, I liked it, and I'm eager to see issue 3. Okay, let's move on to Soulbound by Paul Richey. Get this out of here. And Soulbound 1, basically this
Mia.
Was that her name, Mia?
I think it is.
Paula, help us out here. Why am I flubbing your name? I'm sorry. It was not Mia.
Oh no, sorry, that's the name of the artist. That's why I'm screwing that up.
Why am I having such a hard time with the name?
Becca.
That's right. Thank you. Okay. In issue 1, Becca is basically, you see this creature, this particular creature here, this elf-like creature in issue 1, and then it shifts to the story behind Becca. Becca is trying to. Her father has died, and her evil stepmom has stolen a necklace from her. She goes to retrieve the necklace. The brakes go out on her car. My guess is they've probably been sabotaged. She ends up in a lake, and then this creature pulls her through.
It's a portal. It's a portal adventure story. Like that's
adventure story. Yes,
that's an actual genre.
And I did not know that. Well, okay, I learn something new every day. I
mean, you've seen a lot of this, like the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe portal adventure story.
Yeah, there are things that I like about this issue 2, and I am eager to see issue 3, because I think, especially in issue 1, Paula set up a very good story, and she does move it along here. It's just, there were just enough spots early on here that left me kind of going, I'm a little confused. Like, for example, in this bottom panel here, I'm going to we'll bring it up a little bit. And he says, she seems real, but what is this language? Like, he doesn't understand her. But then, all of a sudden, later on, they seem to be able to understand each other just fine. So it made me a little. I just accepted that they could understand each other, but I
always thought they didn't get each other's language, but that they kind of figured the gestures and other things out.
Okay, all right. Yeah, well, it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't clear to me. Maybe I'm slow, but
It's like if I spoke Swahili, I could still go like this, and you'd be like, "Oh, he's saying stop."
okay, all right. At any rate, she hands him this knife to undo the grate, the screws on the grate here. Now, Paula actually let me see a bit of the preview here when I did my pitch for it on one of my videos.
Mm-hmm.
And I said that this didn't, when he yells, "Do not touch the door," here, she doesn't react. And then we get the creature coming down. And I was kind of like, I thought it would, I just said to her, I thought it would have made more sense for the you see the creature here, and then he yells, "Don't touch the door," and then the creature starts smashing into it. That to me would have made a little more sense.
Okay.
The way it is, it's like he says, "Don't touch the door," and she doesn't react.
Yeah. Well, again,
but yeah, I don't know
if they're not speaking the same language, so they can only understand each. Now,
okay.
If you're yelling, it depends on how you would like. If I'm saying to you when you're about to do something, maybe you don't, maybe you do. I think the significance of the door was that he wasn't able to touch the door.
Yeah,
it's like enchanted, but she can.
No, that is made clear very much later on when they're trying to escape out of the dungeon. He says, she can touch doors that, there's a spell on them and it doesn't affect her. Okay.
Yeah.
I get that. It was to me a little confusing here. Let me ask this about lettering then. If a character is not speaking in English, aren't you supposed to put little carrots around the, or little less than, equal than signs around the words in the bubble to let the reader know that they're not actually speaking English?
That's what there's a variety of things you can do.
Okay.
Like that's one approach. That's a popular approach. I think that would have worked pretty. I think that would have been good in this case. But there's a comic that I just wrote. At one point, the character says it's a sentence that has maybe 4 words in it, and there's a foreign word in it, right? Well, you don't just carrot that word off. And so what I did is I put an asterisk. One of the things you will see is, if they have these things, there's usually, at least on first use, there's an asterisk after the carrots, right? You okay there, Doc?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. And it'll tell you what language it is. So like translated from Flurman, or I made up Flurman. So what I decided to do, just because it was just one word, was to instead just have the asterisk and then just say, that's Turkish for blah, blah, blah.
Okay. Let me go back to my point, though. He is yelling at her, something. Granted, she doesn't understand it, but she doesn't turn around to see what's making him panic. So, still, I mean, if someone's behind you and someone's starting, no toca, I can't remember the Spanish word for door now, but, and I should, no toca la puerta. All right. You may not understand that, but if I'm saying it in that tone of voice, someone's going to turn around and look back at me trying to figure out why I'm sounding panicky. She doesn't do that. So
yeah. The other thing is that there's a bunch of words. So if you scroll back up and if you just said wait or something, where like, that's a warning, but it's not a bunch of words. And so sometimes you're going to miss that, especially if it's in another language. Like, I probably would have had him say wait, and then like, oh crap, or something like this.
Yeah. And then the other thing was he gets the screws out of the grate and then uses them to attack this monster here, which by the way is very well drawn, and I think is going. He doesn't kill him here, which I think is good because he's going to play a part that looks like later in the comic, which is good because I really like the drawing here. I just wonder, you get the things out, why not yank up the grate and just escape? Sure. Granted, you want to have a fight in here, but maybe the thing to do would be able to.
Doc, would you call that the Great Escape?
Ha ha. But maybe, instead of having just 2 screws, have 4 screws, and he's only able to get 2 out as the thing starts crashing through the door. And so then he turns around and fights it, subdues it, and then escapes through the grate. I mean, that's kind of,
I do like that the creature basically is nightmare fuel.
Yeah, no, the creature is wonderfully drawn, and yeah, it's and then no, I mean, from here on out, it's actually I really actually did overall enjoy it. I mean, you see here's the stepmother, and there's some language, and they're being pursued, and they're trying to get out, and they get out, and they have to cross. The moat was a little weird. I mean, the moat, and then all of a sudden there's this massive catfish behind them that they just barely escape.
No one expects a massive catfish, though, Doc.
What?
No one expects a massive catfish.
Fair enough. Okay. But then, she's looking over and she sees something that's kind of made out of, looks like fog and sand, and they get a look and don't look at it, run. So that's interesting. What is that? Okay, you don't know. And and then the creature gets out of the gate and is coming after them again. And so. And then that is actually, I think, a pretty nice splash page. I like that. Yeah. So it ends on that, and they've made it out they've made it to wherever they're supposed to go here. What was the name of the go on ahead